Afternoon, folks. We are live once again. Let me switch everything over and we will get to work on today's drawing stream. All right. We have background music and video should be good to go. Okay, so for today's stream, as you can see on screen here, we are going to be returning to our character outfit / costume design brainstorming. It's been a decent amount of time since we worked on this, since we took a bit of a detour to work on the Deity concepts, but I did want to get back to working on outfit design, and I believe we are working on the second set from the universe of lore. And so we'll just have to figure out which ones we're going to work on today and try and see how many we can get done. taking stock of the models that we've sketched so far. And I believe what we discussed previously on the second set is we're just kind of going free form as far as whether or not we're going to do a regular clothing type outfit or armor, as opposed to having to do one of each for each set. And just kind of see how it goes and keep it free form. And I might be referring back and forth to the first set to remember for which races what designs I did, so we can keep some variation to the overall pieces here. Nobody's in that close. Oh, that's right, we can work on symmetry here as well. Unless we're going for an asymmetrical design, which I might do for this one. I forgot that I'll need to do half of the design at a time, unless there's parts that aren't going to be mirrored. Okay, put some design insignias on the clothing here, but we'll do it after we mirror it. This one's going to be more kind of casual clothing as opposed to combat armor. Okay, I think what I'll do is I will mirror what we've got so far, and then we're going to add some design elements to kind of decorate the outfit. There we go. And let's move this into place, and we can start adding in additional details. I think we talked a little bit about it before when we did the last iteration of this particular race's outfits, but they have these written characters that are very blocky and angular, and when they're put on garments like this is kind of like decorative font. Alright, this one's a little bit more simple compared to some of the others. Well, I forgot to put the plane on. I eyeballed it and worked out okay, but we'll keep that on when we're doing them half and half. Make sure we're mirroring them appropriately. Okay, we'll move this one to the side. We're to be side by side with the other design for this particular race. So what we'll do is we'll create another layer, and we're going to go for kind of contrasting design elements on the second male model. And this one I do think I want to go more armor. But let me see if I can figure out where in the previous set we had the male design and compare. Pull the other set up and see if we can pinpoint which design let's see. I think it was on the second set. Specifically, we can look for the writing, because the writing would have been on the decorative clothing. Let me, what's set one? Ah, here we go. Right here. Okay. This one's a bit more kind of fully armored with clawed gauntlets. We'll avoid duplicating those same ideas for second design. I'm going for here. It's kind of more of like an armored chest piece, like a cuirass. Now, I do think we want to come up with a bit more of a functional design for the lower torso. So this was supposed to be combat armor. You wouldn't want to just have the upper body, like the chest and upper torso protected, and then have nothing here. Okay, what we have here, it'll probably look more clear once I mirror it, but we have like a metal crotch plate, and then kind of plating and reinforced bits on the leg armor itself. This we're kind of creating soldier armor for this particular one. The previous design from set 1 is kind of more like assassin armor, or maybe something a bit more freelance and not part of like an organized group, like a military or enforcement group. We have here is kind of like an armored shoulder arm guard and bits that would cover the limbs going all the way down to the hands, and then we would have probably combat gloves or something to protect the actual hands and digits. Go ahead and save before I forget. On the lower legs, and kind of mirrors a similar type of design like the bracers and the arm guards, kind of like high plated boots. We'll put the same sort of circular decorations. Not decorations, more like not necessarily bolts, but just like we have here, they're like a type of mineral set to bind different parts of the plating together. Like an insignia or like a group symbol or logo put onto the shoulder parts of the arm guard there. Okay, let's do a little bit of just clean up on the sketch lines here, and then we'll mirror it. There we go. We'll merge it, and then we just have to sort of connect the pieces together, and then this one should be done. Alright, let's compare this one to the first one. In addition to being kind of more heavily armored. Let's see if I can grab it from up here. A similar idea with like an upper body chest plate, but it's definitely a different armor style. A bit more angular or blocky, if that makes sense. Not quite as sharp. Okay, let's move these two over. Keep going. Okay, so this next one is going to be the last two entries in the first set. Let's see, who have we not done yet? Okay. I'll do these people next. We're gonna go armor for this one. Okay, let me explain a little bit what I'm doing here. I know I haven't been talking a ton because I had a couple ideas I wanted to sort of get out. So this particular race, which I believe I've explained a little bit, these are the snake people. And so they're a regular wear, clothing, and armor tends to have a lot of elements that resemble things like snake scales or like overlapping bits here. So that's kind of what we're going for with the armor. Okay, I'm moving kind of down the legs. I'm leaving the arms for last because I'm still trying to think of how I want to add the similar type of protection to the arms. Okay, it wouldn't make sense to have the arms be unguarded and uncovered. So if we take that similar type of scale plating kind of texture and go down the shoulders, then we kind of have like a body armor look without it being kind of really bulky, similar to the style we did here. So a bit more sleek, streamlined, but still offering protection for the wearer. Okay, let's do a kind of a quick pass and clean up some of the lines. This one's going to look a little bit different from the previous one. It's kind of got a lot more going on. All right, let's mirror that, flip over and see how it looks. Okay, let's take the primary and the center line out, make sure it's lined up before we merge it. Okay, save that. I think that'll work. It's definitely a bit more busy for an armor design, but I bet if this was colored and inked properly, you could see with a mix of the different tones how the different layers are meant to overlap. I think it would be a little more clear. But I think that will work. So we'll move you over, and then we'll get ready to do the last one on this particular set. All right, for this one, I think in the first set, yeah, in fact, it's in the same spot here. We did have this was definitely armor, and it was a cloaked model, more of kind of an assassin type with the arm-mounted blade that you see on the right there. So maybe we do some casual clothing for this one. I think I mentioned in the description before when we were talking about it that this particular race is a big fan of those like layered overlapping cloaks. It's part of their general casual attire and also like combat attire too. But maybe we will do just like a regular outfit and think of how something like a shirt. Something like how a shirt would look in just casual wear. We're gonna give this dude kind of like a short coat, or similar to maybe a duster. kind of envisioning here, which I'll be able to do once I mirror this half of the design over, the coat itself would kind of fasten this way. Maybe something like that. And be buttoned kind of over so that it's closed. I was trying to create kind of these clasps that go around the coat, kind of right around the hips, just to sort of anchor it in place, but it looks a little bit goofy. Okay, that's better. Okay, so we'll move it or flip it over and merge it, and then we're going to add the rest of the details on the asymmetrical sides, specifically for the coat. Alright, I wanted to put some decorative sort of patterning on here. We talked a little bit, I think, in the previous sessions about how the writing system for this particular race, unlike the ones over here where they have the really blocky, angular writing and lettering style, the particular race has these long, kind of intertwining runic marks that look like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and save. All right, let's compare what we did for Model 1 and then Model 2. I guess you could sort of... Actually, I need to erase the tattoos on the left, but I think Model 2 could pass off as armor, but that's not really the intent behind the design. This is supposed to be kind of regular street or casual wear. This outfit's not really designed to offer protection, it's just clothing. But this one is definitely designed to be more heavily plated, heavily armored to protect the user. Maybe a similar type of warrior or soldier type of outfit. And this one was just kind of wearing everyday use. Okay, I think we can actually put these into a directory. This is technically will be set 3. This is the first half of the designs. Just as kind of a recap for people who might be seeing me explain this for the first time. In this universe of lore that I've been writing, there are 11 races, so we're doing 2 different designs for each race, male, female, armor or clothing, or a mix of both. So we can stick these in another directory and work on the second set. And now we got to think of who is going to be next. Yep. We'll do these folks first. I think I want to go back to the armor route for this one. for this particular race, we talked about how the armor is kind of meant to invoke the style and texture of bone. It might be harder to see in just sketch form because it's not in color, but these plates would be kind of like a pale gray or white metal material, but it's supposed to be resembling bone and is usually in overlapping layers to provide protection. What did we do in the first one? I know there's a dress. Let's take a look. Okay, down here. So for this one, we did sort of this was not supposed to be armor, first and foremost. This is more like kind of like dress attire. Okay. And then for the male one, which was more the full armored look, this is kind of like a head to toe full body armor. So maybe we do something like medium skirmish armor for this one. Like a battle coat. For the legs, we have this part going down a little bit further, kind of the quads. And this be kind of like thick military fatigues. These be kind of like leg guards or like bracer type protective parts from the knee, from the calves and shins, all the way down to the feet. clean this up a little bit. All right. I think that will do. I'm just cleaning up a couple sections here before we mirror and flip everything over and see how it looks. All right, we'll duplicate this and then flip it horizontally. Add a little bit of the runic writing and decoration. This particular race, their writing system looks a bit more like characters with multiple strokes. It's not quite as blocky as that one we looked at, or I'll put that in a different spot. Kind of long and twisting like the other ones. Okay, let's move you over. I think that'll do. To move on to the next one. I think I want to go kind of regular casual clothing for this one, for the male model. Now for casual attire. This one, maybe we can build on the idea of a coat, like we did on the first one, which was more of armored, like a combat coat. This one would be more just casual, regular wear. This one we're gonna make this one cut off a little bit shorter than the other male model one we did. I cut this one off just below the lower midsection, crotchal area. This part I'll also have to delete on the other side since it's going to be mirrored, but this will be where we have the part securing the coat in place. These are this is a long sleeve coat. And I gotta think about how we want to texture this one. Maybe we have kind of not parts that are set into it, but just kind of like a texturing on the fabric itself. It's like stitched patterns to show lines to give it some variety. We're not going to have anything cut off at the knees for the shins. These pant cuffs are going to go all the way down to the shoes. So maybe till about there. Okay. This bit here is going to be a scarf. I'm not putting in the rest of the detail because once it's mirrored, I'll be able to show where it wraps kind of around the neck and probably going up like this. Okay, let's go ahead and mirror it, and then we'll add in the rest of the details on both the scarf and the coat. Okay, let's delete this part. I'm gonna fix the way the scarf falls too. We'll do the coat first. Okay, now I have plenty of space to add in some of the decorative runic characters. All right, let's compare and contrast. All right, so on the first one, the armor style of the female model here, to me, kind of closely resembles what we did on the male model, first off, in set 1. Set 2? Set 2. So these two right here, these were the designs for this particular race on set 2. So there's some design elements that are similar on the armor. So for the female model in the set that we're working on now, has some similar ideas here with the way overlapping kind of bone-looking plates kind of are arranged on both the torso and on the arms and legs. But it doesn't have quite just like the full body, almost plate mail-ish type look. The difference here is that we've got kind of like an armored coat situation, so maybe in between, not quite as heavy full armor. Like I said, we were going for kind of like a medium armor concept and design there. And for the casual wear, again, it's kind of like a short coat, which we need to make sure show like the parts that overlap. And we have a scarf. Similar thing like we did here. This model has a scarf as well. Okay, let's take stock of what we've done so far. I know I've been kind of blazing through these things quickly today. It just so happened that I had a lot of ideas, so to kind of get them down on the paper quicker than usual. So we'll hide these in set 3. So we started down here on the bottom row. I see my cursor right here at the female model. So these 2, 4, so 6 sketches in total is pretty good for not having done this for a little bit. So go ahead and save. I had a thought as we were working through these. The main focus of the stream was doing character concepts, but I wouldn't mind switching gears and jumping back into the Deity project. One, because it's probably the most upcoming of things I need to get designs together for, but also because I think it'd be good to switch gears and not get stuck doing the same sketches for the stream, which is not something I normally do, but I think it'd be productive to switch. And this is where we left off last time, so should be relatively easy to pick up and keep going. This was the deity of destruction that we had sketched out, kind of like a war goddess with all the different weapons. I gotta flip back to the diagram to remember what we did. We know we've sketched out ideas for creation, fate, rebirth. I think I'm gonna redo at some point. I want to rework that one. We did knowledge, desire, judgment. We didn't sketch on stream, but that's the one where we know kind of the avian deities general look from Blood Moon Rites and the remixes, so that one will probably be last since I don't really need to redesign it from the ground up. But that gives us dreams, time, and chaos. I do like the idea of chaos. I think I'm going to keep that one for the 10th slot for the list of deities here. So for chaos, time, or dreams, I'm going to start with a sketch primary to get kind of like a general pose or vibe. I think I want to do time first. Idea of a time overseer, or I don't want to say warden because that's Crony from Hololive. First we gotta kind of concept out the general body type. We're gonna go more humanoid or more creature focused for this one. And also think of what the overall pose is going to be. Ooh, I definitely think I want to work in kind of like an hourglass motif, whether it's a weapon or an artifact. Okay, we'll figure out how we're going to work that into the design. Just drawing a general hourglass shape so I can remind myself of what it looks like. Okay, kind of veering towards humanoid shape for this one. Just by the way, the sketch is shaping up. Oh, and I should change my caption in case people wonder what I'm doing. We switch gears from characters to deities for the moment. That is one too many fingers. I should look up what this character's name even was. That will kind of inform some of the design elements, especially if I know. Let's see, time. Okay. Alright, I think this is a good basic sketch primary, just to kind of show roughly what we're doing with the pose for this one. Doesn't mean an exercise of me butchering hands, but it's okay. And now we want to actually sketch in details. Okay, starting off with kind of like a mask shape here. Now I'm trying to define what the upper torso is going to look like. So I'm thinking kind of a bit more of a thinner, kind of spindly form instead of big and blocky. It's going to make it so these eyes look like they're recessed and set in as opposed to kind of sitting on top of the mask. I do like the idea that the arms are kind of really spindly, just similar to what we said for the body. But if we add in some more kind of adornments and things covering them, that can add a bit more kind of variety to the design. Okay, if we move the perspective a little bit closer, kind of parallel, then instead of it being like an angle, we can kind of use the angle to draw in a more detailed hourglass. I don't know if I'm necessarily committed to the idea of having a sand on the inside, but for now, just again to kind of communicate the idea that this is an hourglass, we'll kind of keep it in there. Okay, I kind of like the idea of the lower body being this sort of robe. That's the rough shape that I was going for when I started doing just what the looks like the skeleton below, and then I stopped because the actual sketched out design of this phase is going to be where all the detail comes from. I think what we want to do is definitely give it more of kind of like a divine or regal type look, so it just doesn't look like a demon of sorts. Okay, let's clean up the sections a bit here. Kind of do a bit better job of refining and showing what the angle of everything is. Update the stream title to trying to shade in here just to make it seem like you can tell that it's like an opening here. It's getting kind of messy and hard to tell. Kind of spiky bits underneath the edge of the robe kind of just blend in. I'm going to take them out for now. We did this on one of the earlier deity concepts. I don't remember which one it was off the top of my head. Might have been Desire. Yeah, we did that definitely for Desire. So we'll take those off and make it so that you can just sort of see the edges of the robe and not stuff underneath. That'll show this thing's kind of floating off the ground. We do like a side render like we've done for the others for the face. A bit tricky to draw from the side. Okay, let's keep kind of refining the sketch parts here, and then we'll take stock of what we've done. All right, let's make sure we note this one for future reference. All right, save our progress. I've done that in a bit. Okay, let's see what the end result here is for our sketch concept for the deity of time. I think this is definitely a good functional start. Of note, the kind of disconnected parts of the head and upper and lower torso, I think, gives it kind of a more unique feel. This definitely looks like a ethereal being as opposed to just a regular creature. The hourglass, which again, I don't know what function it serves. It's probably more of like an artifact as opposed to a weapon. But I like the idea that this particular deity of time would be someone who oversees kind of like the flow and passage of time and age. But what other function amongst the Council of Gods does this one serve? Well, that is something that will need to be developed a bit more and fleshed out as far as the role. But with that, we have done... Where's our diagram? We sketched out ideas for that one, so it just leaves dreams and chaos. Chaos is going to be an interesting one to try and map out, since there's so many representations throughout media and literature of the chaotic entity, or sort of the antithesis of order. And I definitely don't want to fall into any tropes and similar types of things that have been represented before. So coming up with an idea for that one is going to be fun. Maybe we'll do that one next when we revisit this particular project. I have started, since we last streamed the drawing stream for the Deity Halloween project, I have started writing the songs. I've got a couple that have been finished, just need to be recorded and edited on my computer, that I think are going to fit into the overall continuity. But I need to spend more time sitting down and mapping out what I want for the rest of the themes and figure out how many of them I'm going to do. We know there's going to be at least 10 for each of the deities themselves, but there's going to be some stuff kind of in between as well, and that's what I need to continue working on. I was able to do a bit over the holidays and come up with some ideas, but I need to work on it some more in addition to sketching out these concepts, and then need to get in touch with an artist that I can work with on that particular project. I think I'm going to do the album art this time around, but I want to see if I can find maybe one of my artist friends that's good at creature design for the actual deities themselves. So I gotta do some research on that and start reaching out to people before we get too far into the year. But I think we can call that here. We've got to run off and take care of some stuff before it gets late. Let me see who is online that we can raid and spread some chill vibes to. Let's see. Icy Pants is online. What is he doing? Oh, D&D. Well, that's cool. We can go head over there and see how Icy's doing. Different Icy. Not related to Icy Jackets, I don't think. So let me queue up a raid here. We'll mute you and go to outro. And we will call that a drawing stream for today. Should be, according to the schedule, we're back tomorrow around the same time in the afternoon Pacific. I'll try and see if I can go live a little bit earlier if I can make it through everything. But we'll be checking out something new on stream tomorrow on the gaming side. So, in the meantime, hope everyone has a good rest of your morning, day, and evening. Thanks to everyone that dropped by and hung out. Hopefully hearing me talk through some more of the character design process and getting into the deity stuff again at the end was interesting. But in the meantime, I'll catch everybody later and I'll see how the D&D rolling is going over on Icy Pants' stream. I'll catch you folks later.